Hello, everybody, and welcome to our immigration channel, our Friday live. And in today's live, I wanted to give you guys a very precise updates about three main things. We're going to talk about another update for U.S. embassies and consulates, what's happening with the reopening, when are they reopening, what are the procedures that are happening right now. We'll talk about Proclamation 152 expired. What does it mean for the applicants that are being affected by this proclamation? And finally, we'll talk about some USCIS policy changes that are taking place right now, specifically when it comes to cases that are being rejected. We'll talk about that. So make sure that you stick in to the end. I'm going to try to get and cover as much as I can. I know many of you are joining right now. We have Farhan, we've got Hema. Welcome. I appreciate all of you. Those of you that are joining in right now, let me know where you're tuning in from so we can acknowledge you as well. So once again, I wanted to mention here is Dorina. Hi, Dorina. How are you? So I want to mention I'm going to talk in this live video about three main things. We're going to go for the most recent updates about embassies and consulates, about the reopening. I've done quite a few videos last week. We got some inside information from NVC. I shared it with you guys. So today we'll talk about embassy updates as it comes from the State Department. We'll go back and look at what they say. Second, we'll talk about the proclamation. What does it mean that Proclamation 152 is now canceled? Who is impacted and how they are going to move forward? And finally, we'll talk about USCIS immigration changes, policy changes that are significantly important for many of you that are going through the immigration process. So let's jump right in. All right, so let's take a look at topic number one. Embassies and consulates that are being reopened. So we are looking right now at the most recent update from April 1st from the State Department. And essentially what they're saying is that routine services are coming back. Embassies are now prioritizing U.S. citizens, immigrant visas. Obviously, they're prioritizing, fiance visas. I'm going to take a look here. This is basically the schedule of who is prioritized. So immigrant visas, U.S. citizen services, fiance visas, intercountry adoptions, essentially priority for immediate relatives. And of course, if you are for non-immigrant visas, F1, M1 visas, and J1s. And of course, they said that every embassy is going to reopen in its own schedule. The criteria for the reopening of the embassies, as I provided for you guys in previous videos, I mentioned to you before that it depends on the particular embassies, the conditions of the country conditions, how they are reopening, and it also depends on the safety of the consulate. So again, there's a video that I've done that specifically explains that how these embassies are going to be reopening depending on where they are. So that's good news that they are actually updating their website on that and letting us know when they're going to be reopening. Remember that we still have the travel proclamations on, so they're keeping mindful of that. One thing that is important for people to know is about the visa fees. Do we have to pay visa fees again for people that are going to be rescheduled for their interviews? And so they're saying that they're reopening the visa fees all the way through September 30th, 2022. That will remain, in place, which means that your visa fees are good until September 30th, 2022. So once again, to summarize this, every once in a while I provide an update about embassies and consulates reopening. This update is not that much different. What it does tell us is that, again, quite a few embassies are following their own procedures, which means they're going to reopen depends on the country conditions. So quite a few of our embassies that we know are reopening in a more regular way. They have more staff did that training. They're expanding their facilities to be able to get more people to be interviewed. And we've seen that happen in Frankfurt. We've seen that happen at the U.S. Embassy in Madrid. We have rumors that Manila is going to move with that direction as well. So we have some good news for quite a few of these embassies. But again, it's still a little bit slow. And we have to be patient. But the fact is that things are definitely moving in the right direction. And the fact that all the proclamations are gone is going to help a lot of these embassies to release some more visa slots, and that will allow MVC to start sending them more cases. And again, I mentioned that in the previous video that I've done, that MVC is now harboring those cases. They are warehousing them, waiting for the embassies to open slots to allow them to do so. So let's move on to our next topic, which is basically the presidential proclamation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen again here, and so you can see. Here we go. So Proclamation 152 is now expired, and President Biden is now going to extend it. And if you remember, this applied to certain categories of H-1Bs, H-2Bs, J-1s that were not allowed to enter the United States. They're not allowed to enter the United States. And the reason was that Trump said that our workforce is being impacted by these workers coming to work in the United States, and embassies refuse to issue visas. Now, remember that the way it's going to work right now is that people that have not yet been interviewed, they're going to have to schedule interviews, and embassies are going to hopefully prioritize their applications. But for those people that previously were refused visas because they said that they're subject to proclamation in the wrong way, they have to reapply, and they have to submit a new application fee, which is something that is not fair. But again, if you were previously refused because of a proclamation, because you were an H-1B or an H-2B or a J-1 visa, you have to reapply and pay a new fee, and you better do so sooner than later so you can go and schedule into the queue. It is important. They're going to prioritize those people that were scheduled for interviews but they couldn't go. So once again, proclamation is not going to be renewed, but it still doesn't mean that things are going to go back to normal. Remember, they have still a huge visa backlog in all these embassies. So, people that, and again, if you remember, the proclamation did not bar the embassies from issuing visas. They just prevented from these applicants to enter the United States. But the embassies use that as an excuse not to issue visas, and therefore we have this huge backlog right now. So once again, if you were refused visa because of proclamation, you need to make another appointment and pay another fee. People that were not able to get appointments because of the proclamation, they're going to be prioritized right now. And hopefully those embassies are going to start scheduling those interviews right now. So if you were not able to get your visa appointment, if you're on an H or J or an L visa, you need to contact the embassy and schedule your appointment right now, so you'll be able to to get your visa. Again, it's people think that things are going to go back to normal right away. It's not going to happen as soon as we think. And again, I know those of you that are watching right now and you here for the first time, make sure you subscribe to our channel and also give us a big like so YouTube will be able to share this video with more people just like you. And also, if you're watching right now, you can drop your questions here. I'm going to try to answer a few questions towards the end of the broadcast, but I just wanted to cover the topic. So those of you that are joining right now, we started with talking about U.S. embassies resuming reopening basically in most places, and they're going to be reopening one by one based on country conditions. And now we're talking about Proclamation 152 that has been expired. And there's going to be a priority of services for people that were not able to get their visas. They need to reschedule. They need to make another appointment to be able to get their visa scheduled. But if you were refused before, you're going to have to pay your fee, your visa fee again. They're not waiving the visa fee, unfortunately, which is not fair. So let's jump to the third topic, and then I'll be able to give you to answer your question. So right now I'm making a video about what happens when your cases are being rejected, what happens when USCIS is rejecting your cases because you did something wrong. So this video is coming probably on Monday, but this update today I want to talk about a new policy. So at some point USCIS started rejecting cases when you left blank spaces on the forms, specifically forms 589 when you apply for asylum, form I-612 application for a waiver, and I-19 for VU visas. And there are other forms that were subject to the same treatment as well as adjustment of status. But in this particular policy change, any of these forms that were rejected because they were blank, they're reversing it back to the policy from 2019. They're not going to be rejecting it if you submitted an application and you left something blank. However, you should be aware that they still can reject forms. They can still reject your application if you left out key information, if you didn't answer specific questions that are material to your application. Those can still be rejected. But these are good signs. Again, it just shows you that, remember, we had the public charge that was canceled. Now we have this policy that has been changed. So USCIS is also moving towards the right direction of reversing some of Trump's policies and going back to policies that are more reasonable. You're not just gonna, if they're sitting on applications for 2 or 3 months and then you forgot to complete a box and now you lost 3 months from the process just because you forgot to fill a box, this is unreasonable. So I'm making a video, will come on Monday. It tells you how to deal with USCIS if your case has been rejected. What happens if they send your case back? What do you have to do? That video is coming on Monday. But in this update today, I just want to let you know that this policy of rejecting cases because you left some boxes blanked on these forms is being reversed as of now, and it's going back to the policy of 2019. So let me take a few of your questions and before we end the stream. So we have a question for Farhan. Can you tell please about the U.S. Embassy in Djibouti? So again, I can't give you specific information, but individual embassies. But what I can tell you is that the update I gave you in the beginning of this video says something very simple. Embassies are reopening right now. It is your job to communicate with your specific embassy, email them and say, hey, right now we have updated that the U.S. Department is giving you authorization to reopen. Are you guys reopening? When are you reopening? Every embassy is going to have their own schedule. It is your duty to email them and figure out when they're going to reopen. Okay. So question from Claudia. Hey, from California. Fiance is Dominican Republic. What is your question, Claudia, though? And hello, and thank you for coming to our live stream. Larry is asking, when will the Philippines start processing K1 interviews? So the Philippines is kind of a weird embassy. They are going on and off. Remember that they are not able to fully reopen because of the country conditions, but expedited cases still work. And we've done a lot of expedited cases from Manila and they are successful. So if your case is stuck, if you're not able to move forward in your case, you can request the U.S. Embassy to expedite your case, and they are entertaining expedite. Remember, one policy change about expedited is that if you file for expedited, you only have one shot right now. You can't do it more than once. It seems that they are not going to entertain more than once, and you have to make sure that your application to expedite is going to be done very well. Because many people are applying and they're just overwhelmed with cases. So we try to put together the strongest application for our clients. So once again, let me take a few more questions here. We have Texas here, Nigeria. Let's see here. For Mrs. G. Are there scheduled interviews in Brazil for consular processing for CR1 cases? So once again, Brazil is slowly starting to schedule interviews, not fully reopen. Our cases in Rio still require expedited requests. So if you have a CR1 that is stuck in Rio, make sure that you use the expedited process to be able to expedite your case. But otherwise, remember that the good news is that they're making a lot of efforts to start accommodating interviews. Because, if you remember the video that I've done early in the week, I mentioned that there's more than 275,000 immigrant visas pending interviews. This is a huge backlog. And therefore, while they're trying to accommodate a lot of these interviews, it is important for you guys to be proactive with your cases, try to communicate with your embassies, and if they're not willing to accommodate for an interview, then you have to request for an expedited so you can push your case forward. So anyway, this is kind of what I had to say for today. We have a lot of cool videos coming up for you guys next week. We've got the video about how to handle rejection cases. We've got more updated, specific updates for people that are stuck at embassies, what to do, and a few other cool videos answering your questions. So thanks for watching. As always, I appreciate you. If you want to do a consultation with me, make sure to text me to 619-483-4549. I'm always available for consultation, and I want to be able to help you with your case. And thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. I always appreciate all of you. You guys are the best, and I'm encouraged by you. And I'm super excited to make videos because you guys are the best. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in our next video.